All right. So welcome guys to week 3. How are you guys been doing? I just wanted to hopefully open this up for those of you guys that are here. If you guys have any questions about last week assignments or questions about this week's assignments before I jump into motion playtime. Anybody have any questions? No? Okay. So I know that it's a little daunting to think that you guys are going to be, uh, exploring all these applications through the Adobe Cloud. But it is just an introduction to all of the software. And it really is just to pique your interest to see what is available to you as far as your tool sets going forward in your degrees. I know that everybody comes from different backgrounds and different degrees and what these softwares can do. Uh, you know, I like to play around using Illustrator, Photoshop, and After Effects to kind of show you guys how powerful these tools can be. So I'm just going to jump right in. And if you guys have, if I'm going too fast or you want me to go back and repeat, explain something in a little bit more detail, just let me know, okay? All right, so I'm going to share my screen here. Okay, close this up here. Let's go to After Effects. I was working on a project here. Sorry, new project. Don't save. All right, so I thought today, for those of you guys that weren't with me last week, I did a couple things using After Effects in 3D. Today, I'm just going to kind of play around with a couple different things. I'm going to be kind of all over the map a little bit. So I wanted to start with a little bit of kinetic text. So I'm going to come in here, find out where's my Zoom3, and I'm going to show you guys an example. Actually, I'm going to bring in this guy in first. Yes. And then I'm going to bring in the audio file. And then I'll go ahead and bring in the example. And you guys, actually, you know what? I'm going to do this. Let me hide this real quick. Let me go to the folder so you guys can see it full screen. I'll go ahead and pull it full screen. So this is my motivation for showing you guys of a very popular, this came from a movie, I think it was called The Network back in the early 80s. But I want you guys to see how dynamic the text animation is for this actual kinetic text piece.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. It's a depression. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street. There's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. We know the air is unfit to breathe. Our food is unfit to eat. We sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in a house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad. I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value. So, I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore. Then we'll figure out what to do about the depression and the inflation and the oil prices. But first, get up out of your chairs, open the window, stick your head out and yell, and say, I'm as mad as hell.
there you go. So, a combination of having a dynamic voiceover, some compelling music, really good music, and of course, the text animation. So I'm going to show you guys just a quick example of how that can be started. So let me go ahead and get okay. So what I have here is is I have just a quick little paragraph. I have a voiceover that I created for this paragraph. So I'm going to go ahead and drop the voiceover in here. Drop it in here real quick. And I'm going to trim up this clip to be about 6 seconds long. So I'm just going to pull my time ruler to where 6 seconds is, and I'm just going to right click right in the middle of this time ruler and say trim comp to work area, and it's just going to trim my comp to that 6 seconds. Now if I hit LL on the keyboard and I have this voiceover highlighted, you'll see that I can now see my waveform. So the first thing that I want to do is I need to isolate what each word is so that I know where the animation needs to start for each of these words. Okay. So if I take my cursor, which is this blue bar, and if I hold the command key,
Failing.
and if I hold my command key, I can scrub all the way across. So what I want to do is I want to put a marker down where each word actually starts. So I'm going to go here.
Failure.
So that's the first word. So I'm going to go ahead and just hit Control-8 on my keyboard, and it's going to lay a marker right there. And I'm going to go find each word. So there's is. There's not. There's falling. There's down. And it starts to get a little tricky here at the end. There's refusing right there. And then to get up is kind of, there's two. They're kind of all slammed together here.
Get up.
So there's G. Move it over just a little bit here. And up.
No.
Okay. So now I have all my markers. Got all my markers here. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of the background. Well, I don't have a background actually. So I have all my words starting with failure at the bottom here, and I'm just going to put the cursor on the marker and just have the layer snap to that marker. And then I'm going to hit K on my keyboard, and it's going to advance to the next marker. And that can just kind of pull each one of these to that marker. There we go. Almost done here. These last three are very close together. They'll probably come in very quickly. There we go. Sorry, I'm nursing a little cold here. So when I go back and play this, and I'm just going to bring this time ruler over so it loops it right at the end here. Just go ahead and play it. And the words are just going to kind of pop in.
Failure is not falling down, but refusing to get up.
So it's timed just perfectly. And so now what I want to do is be able to create a little more dynamic movement to this little paragraph. So I'm going to create what's called a null object. And in After Effects, a null object is an empty box. You can see the empty boxes right there, but I can attach anything I want to the empty box. So it's kind of like the master controller of everything that happens. So I'm going to take all the words and I'm just going to click and hold, and everything now is controlled by the null object, which is just an empty box. Okay. So going forward, hold on a second, guys. Let me let my dog out real quick. I apologize. Apologize. Sorry about that. Okay, so I have my null object, and the first thing I want is when failure comes in, I want it to be really big. All right, now I got to find out why they're barking. Hold on. Lay down. I didn't realize that Amazon delivered this late. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and all of my controls are going to happen at the null object. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my transform principles, which is the strap. And I'm going to be doing a position and a scale. So the first thing that I'm going to do when this comes in is I want it to be very large. And you can see that by adjusting the null object, I'm adjusting the failure. But in fact, I'm not really adjusting the failure at all. I'm just telling the null that this is wrong. So I want it to start really big. And I'm going to put a guideline here because this is where the stage is going to happen, because I know that the next word that's going to come in is the word is. So what I want to do is right before is comes in, I'm going to duplicate my layers here, knowing that I just have to bump it over just a little bit. So as you can see is that when it comes in, it pops over. Okay. But I know that right after that, not comes in right after. So I want to make sure that when I get to the word not, which is right there, I'm going to lower, bring it over, but still keep it on the line. Okay. And let me lower it just a little bit so it's actually on the line. So when I come in here, you can see that failure is and then not, and it all kind of truncates in that little area. Now, knowing that the next line is going to come in, I'll find out where that next line comes in, which is right there. I'll go ahead and duplicate my layers again, just to make sure that there's no movement between the two. When I get to this point here, I'm going to raise it up so that falling is on the stage, knowing that the next word will come in. I have plenty of room. I don't have to worry about it. Okay. But then I have the next one. Now in this situation, I don't really want, I guess I could do have the word but on the actual line itself, and I can, let me just kind of duplicate these layers again. And then when I get to but, I can go ahead and move it up, but then also reduce the size of it a little bit. Oops, wrong one. Reduce the size a little bit so that it still stays within the parameters of the paragraph. And then refusing comes in. Now, maybe what I want to do is the next one, I'll go ahead and duplicate those layers. Actually, that doesn't happen until a little bit later. So I'm going to move these down a little bit. So let's say right here, maybe I want to go big again just to focus on the last line. And then right about the end here, I'll go back and just kind of bring it back down to the center so that it all kind of plays in. And I'll go ahead and play it so you can see how it all kind of gets built. I'm going to move the line here. Move it up just a little bit so it's kind of center. There we go. So I'll go back.
Failure is not falling down, but refusing to get up. Failure is not falling down, but refusing to get up.
So it's a lot better than just the paragraph just appearing all at one time with all the words. And I can, I can do whatever I want with the words. If let's say a failure was to come in, I could have failure animate from the left or from the right. As long as it's connected to the null object, it's going to follow in the same suit. Now, what I want to do now is, now that I have everything animated, I want to move on to the next paragraph. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do what's called a pre-comp. So if I go up under layer and come down to the bottom, pre-comp, I'm going to call this paragraph 1. And to get this paragraph up, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of pretend like it got knocked, and it's going to rotate down and then fall. So to do that, I want to see it's going to fall from, let's say, the bottom of the F. And I do that because anytime you do a rotation, and I'll just do a rotation here, I'll go ahead and move it over. I'm going to use my rotation tool to go ahead and do the swing. And what happens with rotations, like I've done before, is you lose energy every time it starts to swing out. So I'm just going to slowly slowly move it to the point where it's not exactly dangling, but it's still just kind of free rotating a little bit, almost as if the wind is just kind of pushing it. I might get it to about maybe one more. I'll do one more. There we go. Now let's go just play this little section right here. And you'll see how stiff it is. You know, it's kind of stiff. So I'm going to go ahead and add some easy ease to this, which allows the keyframes to kind of ease in and out of each other. And it really, let me just move this over here. So it's just going to repeat this little section right here. And I'm not really happy with how fast it is, so I'm going to slow it down a bit. So if I hold the Option key on the last keyframe here, I can stretch this out and it will do it more uniformly. Okay, let's see how this looks now. Oh, I like that much better. And I think right about here, I'll go ahead and drop it. So I'm going to go ahead and do a position keyframe right there. And then I'll just do a slow drop down. I'll use my arrow key. And just hold the shift key so it drops straight down. And now I'm going to go ahead and do an easy ease on these guys. So as it comes in,
refusing to get up.
And then I can start a whole new composition if I have more dialogue going forward. And let's say I want to do it in a different direction. A project like this takes a little bit of time, a lot of planning, storyboarding for sure, but it is fun. And you know, I would say maybe about 2 or 3 years ago, kinetic text was really, really popular. And there's been some algorithms that have now been created, some scripting that you can actually do to have this automated, but there's nothing like doing it customized for each client or for each project. So I'm gonna go ahead and save this. I'll call this Zoom 3. Let's see what else I got in here. Anybody have any questions about that? No? Yes? Maybe? You guys are quiet tonight. All right, this next one here, I'm going to go ahead and bring this in as a folder because I want to show you guys. Now, typically when you have a, you know what, I'm going to hold off. Do I have the other one? I do not. Okay. So I have here a sheet of expressions, of mouth expressions, okay? And I have an angry monkey here that I'm going to create a little voiceover for. So what I have to do is imagine if somebody gave you these mouth expressions and said, hey, I need you to animate a character with these voice expressions. So I have them here all sliced up, but I have to go back and actually grab it again because I need to bring it in as a composition. So let me just click on here and come in here, retain layer size. I always choose retain layer size because I want the anchor points around the objects. And if it's really small, I want the anchor points to be really small as well. Go ahead and hit OK. Yes. And there we go. Hold on one second. Let me see if anybody's in the chat that has any questions. No questions. Okay. Okay, so here's all my mouth movements. I'm going to go ahead and change the background color to white. Here we go. And if I turn them all off and turn them all on, I have a smile that I've sliced out, a frown, a snarl, an opening, a yell, and then a not so happy face. Okay, so I have them all here. So the first thing I have to do is I have to move this out of the way. Let's see if I can do that. I'm going to move it up here. Is to get to a by frame for video level. So I need to isolate each one of these on one video frame. So I'm going to highlight all these. You hit Command A if you want. And I'm going to hit Control outside bracket option, outside bracket. And it's going to trim one video frame. And then what I can do is move each one of these to their own video frame. Okay. I'm not sure if you guys were here last week, but I did a little bit of expressions last week with the Yoda automated voiceover. We're going to do a little bit of expressions on this one as well, but you can see that I have all these. You know, I only have 7 frames of video, but I have 10 seconds worth of dialogue if I had it. I actually only have like 2 seconds worth of dialogue, so I'll be okay though. But for me to be able to repeat these facial expressions for a full 10 seconds, I have to get this all in one composition. So I'm going to highlight these again, go up under layer and go down to pre-comp, and I'm going to call this mouth movement. Okay, hit OK. So now it's all one piece. Now I'm also going to create another null object, which is going to go on top, and I'm going to name this one MM for mouth movements controller. Okay. Now that I have that, I'm going to go ahead and place this right and get it squared up just like this at the smallest comp right there. Okay. And I'm going to go up under effects and look for an expression controller called a slide control. And you can see by the slide control, back down near the bottom, that I have the slide controller. So I'm going to actually connect this slide controller so I can rifle through all the different facial expressions. So when I see a dialogue that I want, I can go find the facial expression that fits that dialogue, okay? Now, to go back to the issue that I had with only 7 frames and I have 10 seconds, I need to expand and repeat those 7 frames over and over again. So you can use what's called a time remapper. Okay, and I know this might be a little advanced for you guys, but just you'll see what I'm doing with this. Okay, so I have the time remapper. It's going to expand what I need here. Okay, so now that I have that, I'm going to go bring my audio file. Okay, so inside my mouth movements, I have my audio file. I'm going to hit LL to see the waveform. And what I did is I just kind of voiced a bunch of yahoos.
Yahoo! 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 Yahoo!
All right, I think I like the second one. So I'm going to pull it and I'm going to start it at 1 second here. And then I'm going to trim the back end here. So let me just trim off, whoops, wrong way. Trim off the back end. Hit Option, bracket closed. And I now just have this little section right here. So I now need to get my facial expressions in here because you know that they were all right here, but my audio starts over here. So this is where the magic kind of happens. So I'm going to open up my mouth movement controller and open up my slider. Okay. And then I'm going to option click my time remap where you can see that it turns red. It's going to give me a script tab where I can connect this time remapper to my slider. Now, if I see that my face expression, my happy face disappears, I know that it worked. Now, the reason why I know that it worked was because I have 10 seconds, but this slider is 100. So what I need to do is get this down to a smaller, more manageable size. So I'm going to right click on it and say edit value. And I'm going to come in here, and I know that 100 is too much. And I kind of did the math for you guys, and I just kind of said 0.21 is a value. And I just kind of went through and I said 0.5, I cut it in half, then I cut it in a quarter, then I cut it in an eighth, and then I got it down to, it's just trial and error. So I hit OK. So now my slider is only 0.21 in size, but I now have all my facial expressions sitting there. Okay. So now what I can do is come down here, and let's say that I want to start with my smiley face. And then when I get to yeah, so I'm just going to hold down. I'm going to find a facial expression that I think will work. So we'll try that one. Come down here. Let's look for another facial expression. Maybe that one. Maybe we'll go back to, maybe we'll try, those are duplicates. So maybe I'll go back to this one and then finish off with a smile again. Okay. Now, if I go back and play this though, you're going to see all the facial expressions in between. And you're like, well, why did I just do all that work? So what you have to do is you have to toggle hold on each one of these keyframes so that it holds on that expression until you get to the next one. And I'm just going through doing a toggle hold on all of them. So now when I play it, Yahoo! It's got that little bit of play. Now it's not the greatest, but you can see where the power would be is if you had a lot of dialogue and you had a lot of facial expressions, you can come in there. So now that I have this, I can now go to my project. I'm going to create a composition using my angry monkey. There's my angry monkey. And I'm going to go find my pre-comp, which is this one right here. And I'll move it over. I'll get it lined up. Maybe I have to rotate it a little bit. Maybe move it down. And then I can play it. Hold on a second. Oh, this is like 10 seconds. Hold on. Maybe I'll just trim it right here. I'll go to my, what happened? Why did it not play? Hold on a second. Something went wrong. It happens. Something always, oh, okay. Duration, let's see. I gotta go back real quick. I'll go back to my mouth movements. You know what it is? I think it's this one here. Angry monkey, delete this one. Yahoo! Oh, so now my angry monkey is too small. So we're gonna increase that. There we go. Of course, I need to move him. Whoops. Get him where I need to be. Yahoo! And you can wiggle the tail, you can wiggle the finger, do all that kind of thing. So that's just a nice little simple exercise to get, voiceover. If you guys were here last week, you saw I did the automated one, which is, a lot easier. Okay, let's see what else I got in here. Okay, I want to show you guys something here. This is a, I'm going to bring this whole thing in. I have a friend of mine who works out in Hollywood, and I'm going to go ahead and drop this in here. He worked on Elf back in the day. It's kind of fitting that we're going to do this because, you know, it's getting close to Christmas, and this is Ed Asner playing Santa Claus. And I'm going to bring this down here real quick. And you can see that I have a really nice green screen. I'm going to go ahead and play it. And you can see that I got some reindeers here. I got a boom mic coming in, and I got a fan blowing on his beard. So the first thing that I want to do is I need to cut out the boom mic. So let me just pull this down here. Is I'm going to do a mask, but I need to make sure that the boom mic, where the boom mic kind of comes in, I need to make this just a little bit smaller, just so I can see. I'm just going to scrub through the footage and see if that boom mic comes back. No, I think it's just right there is the lowest. I'm just going to put a guideline right there. I also need to see where those antlers kind of come in. So at what point does, oh, there's an antler right there. So I need to put a marker right here just to make sure that doesn't get cut off. Okay, I think we're good. So what I'm going to do is with my pen tool is I'm just going to create a mask that's going to cut out. Oops, come over here, down, down, down. Okay, so now I don't have to worry about this right here. Now I'm going to put in some clouds for the background, and I'm just scale those clouds up. There we go. So now what I need to do is I'm going to key out the green screen. Let me pull these guys out of here so that we can have, you know, Santa Claus basically flying, you know, in the sky. So I'm going to go ahead and save this real quick. I'm going to go up under effects. I'm going to highlight the Santa footage, and I'm going to come down here to keying. Now there's a lot of different keys here. You're going to see one that's called key light. Key light. Now key light, Adobe had this wonderful idea that when third-party companies would come in and do something better than they did in their software, eventually they would buy the third-party plugin and then put it in to their next version of the software. And that's what they did with Keylight. So I'm going to show you the two different methods. I'm going to show you the first. This was the original keyer for After Effects. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sample the green. Okay. And you can see that it's already losing the detail in Santa Claus. So if I start to lower, you can see that it's very difficult to get. And I'm going to zoom in here to his beard. You got some artifacting going on to be able to get everything perfect. You got a lot of greenage, so it was very difficult for. You'd have to do this a couple different passes. You'd have to do a mask on the area that you needed to make sure that this wasn't getting blown out. And it just really didn't work that well. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that one. I'm going to show you the beauty of this other one. So let me back this up here. I'm going to go down now to Keylight. And just by clicking on the Keylight without doing any settings, that's pretty good. I mean, you can see that the detailing of the, you know, we got a little bit of issues here and there, and I'm going to show you how to fix that. But look at the hair. I mean, the hair is, there's no green behind it at all. So all I really have to do is, the first thing is I'm going to change from final result to status. And you can see all this gray, and that gray is video noise. And I'm going to come here to clip black, and I'm going to put in and I just use this as a default. I'm going to put in 25, and notice how all the video noise goes away. So now if I go back to final status, you can see that all the little pigments and sections have been cleaned up a lot. Let me just I'm going to play this clip right here. And you can see how just how beautiful the edging is, and you can see the sky behind it because that hair is a little bit thinner in this area. There's also something called shrink and grow, and I can come in here and do a -1, uh, and I'm just going to exaggerate it just so you can see what I'm doing. Is it's shrinking into the beard, but you only have to really do just -1 just to kind of tighten up that little area just a little bit. Clip white um, allows the masking around that object, and I tend to keep it between 90 and 100. I don't have to really mess around too much with it, but that's just a really powerful compositing tool. I mean, in Hollywood and even on TV today, green screen uh, footage. I mean, they save so much money by just creating a small little set, and then the rest of it is digital. You green screen the actors, and boom, you're in an environment that you would never think that you would be. Um, so that's a really cool thing. Now, what I want to do now is I created a digital butterfly. So here's the butterfly. I'm going to go ahead and create a composition here. So I created this butterfly in a software called Cinema 4D, which is a 3D software. And it's just a nice, it's not real, but the green screen is a fake green screen, which means I created the green in the background just to have it there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find a clip. I believe that's a pretty good one where it's pretty. It's not blurred out. I'm going to put this guy in the background again and make sure. Let me just make sure that that's pretty good. Okay, I'm gonna lock it down because I don't need that to move, but I do need the butterfly. So I'm gonna go ahead and key out the butterfly. So I'm gonna go back to my key, go to key light. I'm gonna go ahead and sample as close as I can to the body of the butterfly. I'm gonna kind of come in here. Okay, pretty darn good. I mean, the edging is pretty good. I'll go ahead and type in 25. I'll switch it to see the status to see that there's no gray in this area here. If I go back to 0 on this, you can see how much video noise is around. So that 25 is really powerful in getting that. If I play it, you can see that it's it's just an alpha channel of the butterfly. So I'm going to switch it back to final result. Okay. Now, what I want to do is I want to animate this butterfly so it looks like it's actually real, but I think the butterfly is too big unless we're in prehistoric times. So I'm going to go ahead and scale this butterfly down. What do you think? That's pretty good. And I'm going to go ahead and start it off of the screen. Now, so if I just have it here, it's just sitting here. Now, I could just do, I'll just show an example. I could just do a position keyframe. Maybe every so often, just kind of move it. Maybe it's got some wind resistance. There we go, and then off it goes. So if I just play this, it's not bad. It's pretty good. But I have a better way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep this one. I'm going to duplicate this one. I'm going to turn this one off, and then I'm going to shut off the keyframes on this. Okay, and I'm going to load something called Motion Sketch. So let me put this guy same place where I had the other one. Go to the beginning. I'm going to load under Window Motion Sketch. Now what this is it records any movements that you do. Okay, so I'm going to keep the background. I don't want to get technical with you guys, but I'm adding 50 to the smoothing so it's a little bit smoother. And I'm going to go ahead and hit Start to Capture. Now nothing happens yet. Not until I start moving the butterfly. You're going to see at the bottom of the timeline, it's going to start to record all of my movements. So here we go. So I'm going to do a loop. I'm going to come over here. I'm just going to kind of fly it as if I'm a butterfly, and you can see the recording is happening, and then boom, I'm out. Okay, so now if I play it, it's got a little more finesse. It's a little flightier, lighter than the first one, and it looks like it's actually really struggling to get out. You know, but I think we need what is it? You know how they have a swarm of bees? What is a swarm of butterflies technically? I'm going to hit a couple, and I'm going to offset. I'm going to offset them up just a little bit, just so that they don't all start at the same time. Right there. Okay, let's see what happens. So now I have this really cool
So cool.
butterfly, swarm. I don't think that's the right word, but what I can do now is take these files right here. I'm going to take these guys right here. I'm going to duplicate them, move them to the top, but then I'm going to do what's called a video reversal on these guys. I think it's Command Option R. Nope. Hold on. Okay, it is Option Command R, and what that does is it switches the video, so it starts backwards. You're going to see these guys coming in from the outside once these are done. See how these now are coming in? And now I really have a really cool organic looking play where they're all kind of doing whatever they're doing. So that's a really awesome way for you to, let's say if you have feathers or leaves, things that are very light, to be able to get them to move around on your screen. So just remember that, motion sketch. Okay. All right. Let's see what else we got here. I got this. Let me see what else is in here.
Are you going to upload these on YouTube as well?
Yes, I will. Okay. I absolutely will. And I'll upload the assets too, so if you guys want to play around with them too. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, I want to do this. My son loves this show, South Park. You guys like this show? He'll watch it for hours. I don't know. It's kind of crude, but I want to show you guys some 3D camera movements here. So I'm going to bring this in as a composition. So here is South Park. I'm going to change the comp settings a little bit to be a little bit bigger. So I'm going to change this to.
It's a horrible show.
I know. All right. It is a horrible show, and especially now with the way things are with political correctness,
Yeah. It's almost like, what's that one, but with Bart Simpson? The Simpsons.
All right, so 10 seconds. Here we go. So here they are. So I have these guys, and I want to kind of give them a little bit of depth to the camera. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a South Park promo. So what I want to do is I want to do a text. Let me turn these guys off for a second. So I'm going to just do a text. What's the what do they always say? Oh my God, who killed Kenny? Who killed Kenny? Okay, I'm going to go in here and I'll do a nice bold. We'll do a white. Make it bigger. I'll move the anchor point in the middle. Okay. And then I'm just going to duplicate this guy, and I'll just put here. Okay. All right, so I'm going to put those on top of each other, but we're not going to focus those on right now. I'll turn them off. I'm going to turn these guys on. Okay. I'm going to turn everything on 3D. So I'm going to turn on the cube for everything on 3D. So I'm going to do a split screen so you can see the active camera, and then you can see that everything is lined up right here. Okay, they're all flat. Okay, Cartman has never looked so skinny, has he? All right, so I am going to go ahead and turn this back on, and I'm going to take each one of these guys. So Cartman is going to stay there, but I'm going to push back all the other characters way back. So I'm going to take my Z space, the blue arrow, and I'm going to push him far back. I'm going to do the same thing for Kyle. The fact that I know these guys' names is scary. All right, so push him back, and then I'm going to go back and get Kenny. And you'll see that when I zoom out of here, they will all be. Make sure that Kenny is way back there. Okay, so you can see, here is where I was, and then they're all kind of spaced all out here. Okay, if you saw it here, if I turned off the text, you can see that they're all kind of spaced out in 3D. Okay, and if we need to move them back further to give a little more depth, there's a Z space. I'll put them back. I'll put him back right about there. Okay. Maybe move him back just a little bit. All right. Now I'm going to take these guys. Let me turn these guys off for a second so we can focus on the words. South Park is going to go South Park. Oh. It's going to go way forward. Okay. And then I'm going to split the difference with Who Killed Kenny and put it kind of right there. Okay. Maybe I'll move him down just a little bit further. Okay. So now all I have here is Cartman's in the front, and then all the other guys are kind of in the back. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in my camera. And so I'm going to go up under Layer, New, Camera. And it's going to be a one-node camera for right now. We'll just leave it as camera 1. And I'm going to go ahead and just do like a 35 millimeter lens. And so I have it here. So if I go to my view, I click on this one, I want to be able to have camera 1, and that's my view of camera 1 right now. Okay, I'm going to back it up just a little bit. Let me make this bigger. Just so we can see where to go. Fit. There we go. Okay. I'm going to move it back just a little bit. There's my Z. You can see that I'm moving it back. Okay. Because I have 10 seconds here, I hope I have 10 seconds. Yep. Let me expand these guys out because I brought them in when it was smaller. So let me get these guys all here. Okay. So I'm going to put a marker at 5 seconds. I'm just going to bring one over, drop it there. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and go to the very beginning and hit P for position because that's what I'm going to use. I'm going to turn on my stopwatch and I'm going to get to 5 seconds. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to push the camera straight through to get to the very end. And if I have to move, and I'm just moving the Z space, and you see that the Z shows up on my arrow, so I know that I'm pushing all the way through until I get to Kenny, and I'm going to go ahead and go past Kenny to right about here. Okay. So now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go all the way to the very end, and I'm going to back it up as if I'm rewinding the show. And you just got to make sure you're using the right position, which is the Z space. I'm going to go past Cartman, but this time I'm going to keep going. And you're going to see that I'm going to get to the first word. Okay. And then I'll keep going and get to the last word, which is, and then I'll stop it right about there. Okay. So now that so I'm going to go back to the very beginning again. I'm going to switch my views just to one view so we can go bigger here. And I'll go ahead and play it. And so my camera is kind of going through 3D space, 2D, 3D, and then it's going to back itself back out. And then bam, we got, and then it ends with South Park. Now, if I don't like the fact that I can see who killed Kenny in here, I can do a really simple, like right when I get to right about here, I can just hit T for opacity. And once he comes in right at this point right here, I can just do a real quick 0, and that text is now gone, and all you see is the character. You can do that for the characters too, so it's just, you know, in fact, I can kind of come in here right at that point because this is a really hefty, I'll go in here and just go really big on this. I'll just highlight these keyframes right here, copy, and then hit paste, so that now when South Park comes in, everything's gone because the opacity is now, so it's just South Park. Now, if I feel that I'm not happy with how, let's say when it's coming in, let's say, you know, I don't like this happening, I can back it up just a little bit and say, you know what, I want, since there's no keyframes on these guys, I just move them. I can move him over just a little bit so that the camera doesn't smush his face. Same thing with this one. I can move him over just a little bit. Yeah. And maybe I want him to be a little bit closer to the camera. I'll move him over just a little bit. I'm using the red arrow, which is the X position. Now I'm going to add one more thing. The camera, let's go back to the very beginning. We get to right about here. The camera right now does not have any depth of field. Now I can add, just by clicking on this little box right here, depth of field. And if I go back to my 2 view, I'm going to show you guys, where's the camera? There's the camera. Fit. Okay. Now, if I open up the camera options on, when I turned on the depth of field, you can see the depth of field is on, but the focal distance right now is at its maximum distance. So everything is in focus. If I bring in this focal distance, you're going to start seeing, see if I can zoom in, you're going to start seeing these characters start to blur out. If I keep going so that that value is very, very shallow, you can see that my characters are now completely blurred out. I'm just going to go forward just a little bit. So Cartman is in focus. So let me move this over. I'm going to go back to 1 view. So now what happens is that as Cartman comes in, he's in focus. These guys are blurred out. As he comes in, they get in focus as it comes in. And then, of course, it'll do the opposite as it goes through. Now, you can also do, and I call this a rack focus, where you can take the aperture and completely blur it out. So let's say that I wanted to start with a blurry. I could turn on the stopwatch here at aperture, and then as I got closer to Cartman, I can bring it in. When Cartman disappeared, I can pull it back out. As Kenny came in, I can get him in focus and just do that all the way through. Not too much though. As he gets closer, pull it back so he's in focus, and just, you know, do that for each one of them. And then when he gets a little closer, get him in focus. Okay. So now what I can do is, you can see that comes in, goes out, comes in, goes out, and I'm getting blurry now. And it all gets blurry. Bam. And there's your promo. So it didn't take very long, but that's, you know, that's where we're at. Well, that's all the time I have for you guys tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed it. What the heck? Okay. Here we go. My laptop's got ready to die.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Like I said, you guys are going to have a great week 3. You're going to learn Audition and Premiere this week. Things are going to start making sense to you, how these applications all kind of intertwine with each other and how we use them. I will have one more Zoom session next Monday, 8 o'clock. I will record that one as well, but hopefully you guys will all show up. If you guys have any questions, please, just ask. Okay.
Yeah, wait, one more question.